You all are welcome on my YouTube channel, my online classroom. And today in this video, I am going to show you the class 8 Civics Chapter 2 Ideas of Constitution notes. So see, first of all, under the notes, the main heading, it is Introduction. And under the introduction, we are going to write that what is the main concept of this chapter. As you can see, I have mentioned here in this chapter, we will study the importance of Constitution, its features, fundamental rights and duties. Let's move to the next heading. It is the Constitution of India. So first of all, the heading, the meaning of Constitution is given here. So what is Constitution? The set of basic rules according to which the government of a country runs is called a Constitution. Second, the drafting committee drafts the Indian Constitution. Third, the Indian Constitution adopted on November 26, 1949. But remember this thing also, the Constitution came into force on January 26, 1950 because it was on this day of 26 January 1930 when complete independence, it is also called Purna Swaraj, was declared as the ultimate goal of the national movement in the Lahore session. Next, move to the next heading, features of the Indian Constitution. So under the features of the Indian Constitution, you can see some subheadings are given here. First of all, fundamental rights. So of course, fundamental rights are also an important feature of the Indian Constitution. Like the USA Constitution, the Indian Constitution has guaranteed several fundamental rights to all its citizens. Next, move to the next subheading. It is parliamentary system. The Indian Constitution has established a parliamentary form of government, both at the center and state. Parliamentary form of government adopted from the Constitution of the UK. Next, move to the directive principles. The directive principles of state policy were adopted from the Constitution of Ireland. Fundamental duties. The 5-year plans and fundamental duties were adopted from the Constitution of their former USSR. Next heading, it is amendment. So many of the time this word you will get in your civics book in your higher classes. So you have to know what is the meaning of amendment here. It is essential to make modifications in the Constitution according to the changing conditions. These modifications made through a procedure called an amendment. Next heading, the preamble. The preamble is an introductory part of the Constitution which explains the goals of the government. The preamble to the Indian Constitution incorporates all the guiding values inspired by the freedom struggle. Next, move to the next heading. Subheading under the preamble we have, it is sovereignty. So what is the meaning of sovereignty? Is the freedom to govern oneself within a territory and to be free from any external control. Next word, secularism. So India is a secular state. This means that there will be no state religion. All religions will be treated equally. So India is a country which follows the secularism system, and according to that, the government is not going to favor any religion as well as not be against of any religion. Here in this country, the people, those who here as a citizen, they are free to follow or adopt any religion of their choice. Even if they don't want to choose or follow any religion, they are also free for this. Move to the next heading, it is democracy. So democracy is the most important feature of our Constitution. Democracy refers to the government wherein people have the power to vote and elect their representatives to the government. In India, citizens who are 18 years and above have the right to vote, known as a universal adult franchise, election held every 5 years. So democracy word actually it is derived from the Greek language word demokratia, where it correct means rule of the people. And according to the words of the 16th President of USA, Abraham Lincoln also mentioned this democracy is the form of government of the people, by the people and for the people. Now next move to the federalism. So what is the meaning of federalism? As we very well know that India has a federal form of government. So what it means, in your higher classes, especially in class 10th, you will get clear in civics chapter 2, it is federalism. So in any country where more than one level of government, that country is known as the federalism or federal system of government they follow in their country. So more than one level of government, it means central government, state government and local government, which is also known as the Gram Panchayat and municipality. The powers and functions of the center and the state government have been clearly defined under the four lists. First list, it is union list where 97 subjects are mentioned, state list where 66 subjects are mentioned, and concurrent list where 47 subjects are mentioned, and residuary list all the subjects which is related to the communication, information technology, that is be mentioned. Under the union list, the subject which is be related to the whole nation interest, those subjects have been mentioned. And under the state list, those subjects which is related to particular state interest, those subjects have been mentioned in this state list. And under the concurrent list, the subjects which is be related to the union means whole central interest as well as the state interest, those topics and those subjects have been mentioned in the concurrent list. Remember the union list, who is the in charge, who is the responsibility to maintain the subjects of the union list, that is the union government, it means central government. Next, state list is under the control of the state government. State government is the head and they have the responsibility to maintain the subjects of the state list. Next, concurrent list is coming under the both the government, union government, it means central government as well as the state government, and the residuary list subjects are coming under the central government. Next, move to the next heading. India is a democratic republic. So we very well know, of course, India is a democratic republic because it means, what is it means? It means the head of the state shall not be the hereditary head, just like the king or queen system when monarchy was be there. So the daughter of the queen become the next queen, and same for the king's son become the next king. So that is not be followed in the democratic republic countries. Here, the head of the state will be chosen by the people through an election. So remember, election is also an important feature of the democracy. Next, move to the fundamental rights. So of course, as a citizen of particular country, you are getting some rights and at the same time you have some duties also towards your nation. So fundamental rights are mentioned in part 3rd of the Indian Constitution. So what are the how many fundamental rights we have? First of all, we have total 6 types of rights. First, it is the right to equality, and it establishes equality before the law, prohibits any sort of discrimination, equality of opportunity, abolishes untouchability, and to the use of all titles. You have remembered that before of the independence, many of the rich people, they used the title before of their names, like the Khan Bahadur, Rai Bahadur. So these titles, all these titles which shows that inequality is going to be promoted in the society. So all these kind of titles were removed under the right to equality. Next, move to the right to freedom. The right to freedom, it is also known as the cluster of rights because this one right giving the different kinds of rights to the citizen of any country, especially in India. So first of all, it gives the right to freedom of speech and expression, that all the people in our country, all the citizens, they have the right to freedom of speech and expression. Whatever they are thinking, if they want to speak, they can be speak. They are allowed to show the expression. Next, it is right to assemble peacefully and without arms. Anywhere you can be gathered together, but remember without arms. So you want to assemble anywhere peacefully, it is allowed, and remember without arms. Next, the right to form associations or unions. Different trade unions we have in our country, like the workers unions, like doctors unions. So of course, this all they have the right to form associations and unions. And next, it is the right to free movement. Throughout within the Indian territory, you all are allowed to travel or to move from one place to another. So it is your right to free movement within the country. Next, right we have right against exploitation. So, puts a firm end to such exploitation as forced labor, beggary, and human trafficking. So, this right is providing you the right against exploitation. If anyone is exploiting you mentally and physically, so that time you can appeal in the court under this fundamental right against exploitation. Where just like forced labor, you have seen in some places, the people those who they don't want to do work, but some people they want some labor from those people. So that's why they are forcing them and they are not paying anything to them and they are getting their labor at free of cost. So that is known as the forced labor, and it is also known as the bonded labor. Next, it is beggary. Beggary is also a criminal offense if you are going to be force someone to ask for beggary. And human trafficking, that human trafficking means buying and selling of human beings. So that is also a kind of fundamental right to have against of this. If someone is doing near in your neighborhood and somewhere or else, so of course you can complain, and on the behalf of that person who is not able to do this complaint. So of course in Indian Constitution they are providing right against this kind of exploitation. If someone is facing this kind of problem, so they can appeal in the court under this right. Next, it is right to religion. So of course India is a secular state, and here people can follow any religion of their choice. They can preach the messages of their religion, but they can't force anyone to convert to adopt your religion by their own choice. If they want to, that is okay, but you can't force them. Next, it is cultural and educational rights. So all groups in the country have been granted the right to safeguard their culture, language and script, because India is a country where many of the different people live here, those who belongs to different languages, religion and culture. So of course to save them, especially the minority communities, to safeguard their culture, language and script, this cultural and educational rights is be given. And if the minority communities, they want to set up and open their institutional religion institutions, so they can also open, so that to their generation, to the next generation, they can give this kind of information or this kind of education. Last, it is right to constitutional remedies, and remember Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said this right, the heart and soul of the constitution. Every citizen is entitled to move the court for that purpose if their fundamental rights are violated by anyone. So of course whatever the rights are going to be violated, you can appeal in the court under that particular fundamental right. But at the same time, if your previous this whatever rights we had discussed right now, if any rights is going to be violated, so you can appeal in the court under the right to constitutional remedies as well. So that is you can see that these fundamental rights are going to give you a protection. Next, move to the directive principles of state policies. So just like the fundamental rights we have, so some other things we also have, which is be mentioned in our constitution, and according to that the whole country runs, the government runs, as well as the citizens also follow the orders. So here in the part 4 of our constitution contains guidelines given to the government to ensure the welfare of the people. So fundamental rights are only for the citizens, and the directive principles, as you can see, it is a kind of guidelines which is be mentioned in our constitution in part 4, and that is the guidelines given to the government, not to the citizen. Okay, remember this is the particular difference between fundamental rights and the directive principles of state policies. In class 11th and in class 10th also you are going to read about of this content. So whatever you are reading here in class 8, remember that in your further classes also it is going to be help you. So it is the directive principles, whatever the guidelines are be mentioned, which is going to be given to the government to ensure the welfare of the people. It means the government have to work according to this, and for what kind of work? For the welfare of the people. So these guidelines are called directive principles. So what is the definition? That whatever the guidelines which is been mentioned in the part 4 of our constitution, which is going to be ensure the welfare of the people. So these guidelines are called the directive principles, and the Supreme Court referred to these principles as the conscience of the Constitution. Next, move to the fundamental duties. As we have some rights, fundamental rights as a citizen of this country. At the same time, we have some duties also as a citizen of this country. And remember, duties and rights are interrelated to each other. The 42nd Amendment Act of 1987 added some responsibilities of citizens to our constitution, and this all responsibilities, whatever is mentioned in our constitution, and it is given to the citizen, that those all responsibilities are known as the fundamental duties. So let's see what are the fundamental duties of our citizen. First of all, we should respect our national symbols. Okay. And second, we should protect sovereignty. Third, to defend the country. And next, to value and preserve the rich heritage, the flora and fauna of the country. Next, to safeguard public property. We have to not destroy our public property. We have to save our public property. You have seen that if somewhere, if any kind of wars happen and any kind of violence is with, so many of the people, what they are going to do, they are going to destroy the public property. So that is, remember, that is a criminal offense, and we have to, as a good citizen, we have to not do this kind of activities. Same for the respect our national symbols like the national flag. We have different slogans also, like Vande Mataram, and the national song, national flag, and the national anthem. So we have to give respect to each and every national symbols. Next, we should protect sovereignty, the supreme power of this country to take decisions, and other countries, other person cannot be interfere in our personal matters. So of course we should protect the sovereignty of our country. Even at the same time, we have to defend the country from the enemies. So all these points are very important. These all are the duties of the citizen. Other points are also be there, which you are going to read in your higher classes. So I hope all the points are clear to you. So this is the notes, perfect notes for your chapter. So thank you everyone, and please like, share, subscribe this channel for more updates.